Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I hope your week has been amazing so far. Sending out lots of hellos to Jen and Jeff and O'Neill and Valentina and all the amazing people that are joining us. I'm curious, where are you joining from? Maybe drop it so we could have a little where are you session. You might notice I'm in a new location. I am actually taping right now for LinkedIn. So this is my lunch break that I'm so excited to spend with you. So that is why I myself have a different background today. So very, very excited to be here with all of you guys today. And I am really excited more than anything to welcome one of my friends, Cassie, to join us for coffee. She is freaking amazing. You are going to love her as much as I love her. She has all of the credentials one could ever want. She's the co-CEO of a company that she started. She's been on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. She has been on the Billboard 30 Under 30 list. All the lists, basically, she's been on. And she not only works in social media, which is a super cool area to work in, she works with some of the biggest A-list talent names ever. And I cannot wait for you to hear her origin story because it is amazing, the sort of spark for this idea, and it involves sneaking backstage. So pretty much the ideal plot line to like any great teen rom-com. So I am so excited. Can everybody please help me welcome Cassie to our little coffee date?
Hi. I'm so excited to do this.
Me too. I'm so excited. Wait, but first off, do you have coffee?
So I have a turtle mug. That's awesome. They like go together. They're both like slow, peaceful friends. Yeah. I don't drink coffee. I drink iced tea. That's I'm from Kentucky, and that's kind of where that's my caffeine. That's where I come from. So I'm an iced tea drinker. I'll do hot tea sometimes too, but that's my thing. I'm also, I know you talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'm also a super taster. so the coffee's too much for me.
It's just not that great. Like you're just like, why do I need this? Okay, so you're with me on the tea. Do you do tea in the morning or in the afternoon? Is it like a kick when you need it?
All the time. I love tea. That's just like my thing.
All the time.
Yes.
Like anytime.
Like I can't not sleep because of it. I just like tea all the time.
Like any time is a good time for tea.
Mm-hmm. That's basically, yes.
I mean, I like it. So wait, so I sort of teased it a little bit, but you sort of tell the story so much better, which is the impetus of you kind of becoming a founder, and this entrepreneurial journey started with every teenager's dream of like, how am I going to sneak backstage and meet my favorite rock star?
Yeah. I just in general loved meeting like pop stars when I was younger. And at first, I loved it. I have my photo album. I was actually looking at it last night of all like my pictures with different like
I love it.
Celebrities like O-Town and LFO and like stuff, people kind of from
Five.
that era.
Do you remember
Five? I never saw Five. I always like to say it Five. That just felt, I just always wanted to say it that way. But I just always wanted to meet these people, and it sort of evolved over time. First, it was like going to mall shows or figuring out the backstage fence after the concert. That was a big thing for me. And then, but the bigger celebrities, you can't meet them that way. They don't do a backstage fence. And my love when I was younger was the Backstreet Boys. They still are my love, but that was like my end all be all. And the only way to meet them at that time, now you can buy a meet and greet, which is great. And I would have done that if that existed at the time, but it didn't. And the only way you could really meet them is by winning a radio station contest. And I tried and I couldn't win the radio station contest. So I studied like online, how do people, like what sort of pass do people have when they attend said radio station meet and greet? And I discovered that it was like this sticky pass that you wear. And I looked at all the different, I studied on eBay, all the different colors, what it looked like. And I actually made my own so I could attend the meet and greet. I'm shocked that I kind of had the nerve to do that now. I would never do that now. I'd be like scared of getting arrested, or I don't, it's trespassing. It's definitely not.
You're young and brave though. Like when you're a kid, you're so fearless.
I know, I miss that sometimes. Like, I had no problem doing it then, but now I'd be like, oh God, like that would be so scared to do that now. But and me and my friend had a plan. We were like, okay, if somebody asks where we got these, we bought them from a man outside, and he was wearing this, and we made like a really crazy description so that we couldn't actually get like a wrong person in trouble for it, because we did actually kind of get caught and had to tell that story about where we got them. And actually know the person. Yeah, and actually know the person now that I told the story to.
No way.
Yes, I've had to work with him now. But I've had to work with a lot of people that I like did that to, because once I did it once, I did it for other things too. And I was like, yeah, I did this. I went to your meet and greet with this bracelet that I made.
So kind of like a full circle moment.
Yeah. Like, for sure.
You're back now, like not illegally working with people.
Yeah, for sure. Now I'm like, what's the latest I can get there?
Right. So like now I'm actually going to do this. Well, one of the reasons why I feel like I was so excited for all of us to have coffee with you is because I feel like you're so relatable. Like that story is like, I relate to that. Well, I mean, I wasn't that smart, clearly, but like genius. And I feel like you have so many tips and tricks. And every time that we get coffee in real life times, pre-COVID times in LA or New York, I joke that I always come home that night with like a whole little list of like apps to download or like things to look up or like people to stalk. I get so many tips and tricks from you. So I'm so excited because I feel like everyone is going to do the same thing after this coffee meeting. They're going to be like, oh, Cassie said to check out this. So I feel like just to kind of dumb it down, because social media is amorphous. Like a lot of people say I work in social media and everyone's like, what does that mean? Like, so like if you had to dumb it down, like what exactly do you do?
And I think that's a good question, because I think the internet as a whole thinks that it's just somebody pretending to be somebody else.
Totally.
Yeah. Totally. And it's not that easy. And usually like if we're working with a person, I would say that we're not like posting or making stuff for them. Like that's generally, sometimes we'll give them advice, data, but that's generally their voice, their pictures, their content. I would say what we do is a bit more, behind the scenes and collaborative, or they're like, hey, I want to post something like this. What do you think? What is the best time to do it? Should the video be over or under 60 seconds? It's a bit more diving into the details and being a bit more strategic and looking at data and deciding like, if somebody's like, should I post more often? We're like, well, let's actually look at that from an analytical standpoint and decide that. Should my captions be longer or shorter? Well, let's look and see what your history says is better. Or teaching a lot of people about like new trends too. I would say I've been trying to get people to use TikTok for 4 years now, when it was Musical.ly. And now people are finally starting to use it. But a common thing that has happened with TikTok, and I would say with every social media platform this has happened, is we'll create a bunch of content for somebody to post on TikTok because they don't know what to do. And they're like, just post my comedy special, or just or just post pictures, slice up my music video in a more TikTok-y way or whatever that is. And then what happens is we post it and it does well and they get a lot of followers, and then they become interested in it and how to do it themselves. And I've seen that happen with people from MySpace to Twitter to YouTube to Instagram. Like people don't want to join these at first. They're like, do I really need to do more work? And I'm like, the earlier you get on these things, the more like real estate ground you can gain more quickly. And you'll be just ahead of everyone when this thing finally does become popular. And that is what has happened with TikTok now. it's a huge beast. And the people who got on it early and have a lot of followers are, really, they're a lot of them are making money because they have followers and they
still
can
early. Like people can
it's
still get
early,
on it and go get like, well, that's why I feel like your job is so interesting to me, because I feel like you're a modern day Christopher Columbus. Like you're getting out on the boat and like discovering new worlds, and then you come back and you tell me about the new worlds. You're exactly right. Like you were talking about TikTok years before other people were talking about TikTok. Like I love it because selfishly, I feel like you go and do all the discovery work, and then I just get to like follow you on social media and hear about it and then look really smart. And then like actually do no work. So it's like kind of perfect. So everyone who's on here should do that and just follow Cassie, because then you also look really smart. So I feel like it's a bare minimum of what people can be doing to look smart on this. But for other people who are looking like, okay, so we know social media is important. What's like the bare minimum that, like, why do it? Because I feel like that's the question that I hear from entrepreneurs all the time. They're like, yeah, I'm a founder. Social media is important, but like, what's the point? Like, what is it going to get me? Or like artists do that too. Like, what's the point?
For sure.
Why do I have to get on TikTok? Or why do I have to post on my Instagram stories? What's the point?
Yeah. And I think, now more than ever, it's become a thing where you can't really not be there anymore. I see people, I heard about it. I was talking to my photographer friend last week, and he said he lost a job because somebody else's Twitter was verified and posted more often than him. Like people just like, if you're up against two people, like and one has a better, and it's like you're really close. If somebody is easier to like understand who they are and their work and seem bigger on social media than you are, you're going to probably lose the bid to them. And
well, I was saying it before. It's like, are you Googleable?
Yep.
I don't know if that's a word. I just made that up. But like, can people Google you? And if they Google you, what are they going to find? Like,
yeah,
hopefully your Twitter, like hopefully something that you've posted. And if you don't post, to Sarah's point that she just made, like you're invisible. No one knows that you exist in the world. Okay, so that was kind of like a JV question, high school JV baseball. If I wanted to go like varsity level, so I know that I should post on social media. I get it. Yes, maybe I send a couple posts out. Like, what can I be doing to take it to the next level? Like, how do I charge up my game?
Yeah, I think right now the big way to charge up your game is kind of more is more right now. It hasn't always been that way.
Just more.
Yeah, well, right. It hasn't always been that way, but right now I think quantity is a really big part of the game, unfortunately, because that requires more work. But the quality also has to be there. It can't just be more and not good. That you have to kind of you have to know your message and figure out how you create content on an ongoing basis that perpetuates your message. And you have to figure out how to do it like kind of quickly and pretty inexpensively. I think right now quarantine is challenging a lot of people with content and using the people around them to help them create it. Like your roommates are taking pictures or videos, or your spouse or
your tripod.
Like everyone should get, like, there's really cheap ones on Amazon, but like the little like ring lights and tripods, they make a really big difference. A tripod, I have like a clip-on one that you can clip to anything. Super helpful.
I got that one.
It's helpful not even for taking content, but for like consuming content, or having multiple screens if you don't have a giant computer screen. It has a lot of uses. I'm a really big fan, and I send like Amazon links to my clients all the time. I'm like, you need this tripod, you need this ring light. And they're not, a fortune. They're pretty reasonably priced. And I would say sometimes the content I receive before and after is so drastically different. It's hilarious.
I like an HGTV makeover. You're like, here's the before, and then here's the after.
Yes. And I see that. I don't publicize that, but I see that a lot with people. I'm like, wow, that tripod did you a lot of good. They really help.
Oh, I have a tripod. I have that clippy thing that you're talking about.
Mhm.
When we do a recap of this, we'll include a bunch of those links so everyone else can steal them. But I find them to be extremely, extremely helpful. But I feel like what's hard is exactly like, you're supposed to be making all this content and you're like, okay, more is more. Like, let me get out there. Let me like shoot the videos, take the pictures. But I feel like I feel like one of the big questions I have personally is that I have like imposter syndrome. I'm
Mhm.
like, does anyone care? If a tree
Yeah.
falls in the woods, like, does anyone hear it? Like, does anyone want to hear about my learnings? Does anyone want to hear about my insights? Like, so I just kind of feel like that is a hard question to sort of, and I'm wondering, like, does anyone else feel that way? Or do you hear that from sometimes your own clients of people saying like, what am I supposed to post? Like, who cares about my, proposal? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and so are you. So I know I get stuck in my own head with like, well, today I did 2 proposals, 3 conference calls. Like, who wants to hear that? I don't know if like Jen or Sarah or Mitch or anybody else, who's having coffee with us, like if you ever feel that too, but like, what do you say to that? I mean, you work in the space.
Yeah, and I would say that I felt this feeling for a while from like both myself and a lot of people, and I didn't really realize there was a term for it actually until recently. And which is imposter syndrome. And I watched a lot of TED Talks on it after I learned about the actual term.
What TED
And
Talks?
yeah, I forget. I need to look up who the one I really liked one was from. I forget their name, but it was really good. Maybe
Okay.
that's something we can, post in the comments or something after.
Yeah.
But it was really good. And he talked about how he went to a conference and like was talking with like the most successful people that like, names that like we would know in the business world, and all of them feel the same thing. So I think it's something that never goes away. And I think it's also a good thing though, because it keeps people humble. But it is something that's hard to work through on the social media side of things. And something I kind of like to dumb it down for people is I say, okay, if you didn't tell your mom or your close friends that this happened in your life, would they be upset with you for not sharing it? And a lot of times they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, your audience, that means your audience wants to hear it. Then if your family would want to know about it or hear about your day, like other people do too. And I think it's important to show people who are doing all different types of tasks and different jobs, because that creates, otherwise our feed is going to be people who just post selfies of themselves. It's going to be what you don't like if you don't contribute other content to, counteract like, and don't get me wrong, I love, standard influencer content. I like looking at pretty pictures of people. I like, people modeling. I like watching that stuff, but I don't want my feed to be only that. And it's
Right.
going to be only that if other people don't raise their hand and create different types of content that aren't in that category. So I think it's not only like, should you do it for yourself and it'll help you get business, but it's important to represent all kinds of people.
Well, and I feel like what I try to keep in mind, some days are better than others, but what I try to keep in mind is that there is someone somewhere, maybe it's, I don't know, a 17-year-old girl in Kansas, or it's a 40-year-old, man in California or whatever, someone somewhere, Dublin, wherever around the world, they are going to kill for your job. Like, they would kill for your job. So I don't care if you're like an assistant manager at, Siemens Corporate Engineering Group, or you are a marketing manager at Clorox Bleach. There is someone who's like, I would love to be the marketing manager at Clorox Bleach. And so there are people out there that want to know these very mundane things, like, what does a proposal look like? And okay, you're the marketing manager at Clorox. Like, what does that entail? And I think that's something that I'm curious, because you work with a lot of celebrities, and obviously it's easy because of course everybody wants to see a celebrity's life because, I don't know, they're famous and whatever. But do they even struggle with it sometimes of like, well, because they're human too. And I think sometimes people forget that they're like real people.
Yeah. And I would say that definitely everyone struggles with it. They're like, is that piece of that's really what people want to see? And I'm like, absolutely. And I work with big artists, but I also work with a lot of developing artists and people in between. And I've watched baby artists become big artists. And, one artist that we work with her name is Kim Petrey, and she's killing it right now. And when you're allowed to tour, she can sell between 5,000 to 7,000, audience or arenas or theaters or whatever. But when she started social media, like she was very timid about it and didn't, was just kind of, didn't, know what to post. And I would say one of the biggest things we did for her was kind of be a cheerleader and push her on, posting and sharing. And now she's amazing at it. She's has her own voice on Twitter. She's hilarious. She has like her own like style of content and brand that she developed, but it was a lot of like really kind of like cheering her on and saying people do want to hear this from you. And it's important for you to post it because your journey is super unique. And she's built, not only an audience, but like a true core, like fandom that really loves her and is obsessed with her. So it's, but everyone deals with it. And I think sometimes it can become easier over time, but I don't think it ever goes away.
Well, our favorite person, Kendall, just asked a very good question. She always does that. She always asks the best questions, which is how do we share our insights or lessons without it sounding lecture-y?
That's a good
not
question.
A word, lecture-y. I don't know. Without sounding like you are telling everybody how to live their lives.
Yeah. And that is a good question. And I think that, not even in business, but I think everyone kind of deals with like, how do I become more humble on social media? And I think a lot of times, a question or stating the truth that you're learning about this too, but you wanted to share. I think sharing your intention of why you're sharing something is helpful because usually you're sharing something because you want to help people. And if you position it that way, I think that people, feel like they're not being lectured to, but feel that what you're trying to do, which is genuinely help them.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, because you work in social media all day, 9 to 5, you also have to be on social media, like for Cassie, for like yourself. So how do you stay inspired? Because it's draining and you do that for a job. So what's like your secret sauce to staying inspired?
Yeah, it's I think that I picked a good job for the things that do keep me inspired. I love problem solving. Like I used to be in a club in high school called Future Problem Solvers. Like I really do. Like that's a thing. I love problem solving. So, and I get to solve big and little problems all day long with clients. So I think that's something that's, really great about my job and picking, that speaks to like picking the right thing for you. Mm-hmm. And I love learning, like genuinely. I don't like being tested on it. That was not my strength in school, but I like learning.
I don't know.
And I get to learn new things all the time because there's new platforms, coming on board. I think some people get kind of stressed out about new platforms. But mm-hmm. I actually I get excited about it because it's like it can kind of shakes things up, changes the game a little bit. You get to sort of figure out the best practices for a new platform, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. So I think a lot of times it's picking a job that speaks to things that you really enjoy. And of course, there's stuff that isn't as fun. Like I do not enjoy doing proposals. I don't like it.
I don't.
I don't like looking at, overseeing payroll. I don't like that kind of stuff, but having enough things in the mix for me that I do really enjoy helps me get through the stuff that isn't quite as fun.
I mean, no one likes that, by the way. No one likes that part of entrepreneurship, but no one ever talks about that. It's like, oh, that QuickBooks date. Yeah, that's a meeting you want to skip on the calendar. No one wants to do that. I love this question from Peter because it's actually something that I struggle with a lot is maintaining consistency across various social media platforms because there's a lot. There's LinkedIn, there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook. Like, Do you customize content? Do you kind of keep the same message, but you tweak it a little bit? And I loved your kind of reference about learning, because if you love learning, then you never run out of content, because you're like, hey, I just learned about this app. Hey, I just learned about this editing technique. Hey, I just learned about, XYZ.
Yeah. And let's see, it is a lot too. And I do think it is, as much as you can, I think it is important to maintain all those platforms. And I do think when you can, you should change the content per platform, because different platforms like different things more. They all have different palettes, so to speak.
It's like friends. You have one friend that wants Burger King. You got one friend that likes McDonald's. It's like all the platforms.
Yeah.
Different taste buds.
Totally. And they need like different specs, and some like video more than others, some like photo more than others. Some don't want a photo or visual all the time. It's a lot to remember. And I think something that I like to challenge my clients to do is they get really overwhelmed when I start talking about all the different platforms and all the different things they need to do on all of them. And my recommendation is, if you're starting out, to maybe just focus on one at a time and getting that one really good. And then you build it like a pyramid, like you lay the foundation. When it's going, you have, part one going, add another layer, but doing it all at the same time, it's too much. It's picking what's, one that you think will help you a lot and you feel the most comfortable with I think is kind of a good way to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like this is a shameless plug for LinkedIn, and they don't pay me. They should. But I will say they really should. I will say what I love about LinkedIn is whether you are 65 years old working a whatever job, or you are 21 years old, fresh out of college, you should be on this platform. Like, this platform can get you jobs, freelance gigs, mentors, and not that Instagram or Twitter or Facebook can't get you those things. I mean, they definitely can, but I think it's hard to get like a job off Instagram. It's possible, maybe, but not probable.
Yeah, I feel that, and I agree with that.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard. This is a great kind of segue question from Myra, is like, what platform should we be putting emphasis on? Is it the early platforms like TikTok, or is it kind of tried and true like a LinkedIn or an Instagram?
Yeah, I think it depends on, the line of business you're in, like she said. But I would say if you're personally building something for yourself, I would say getting your Instagram or LinkedIn in order is probably the easiest, in my opinion.
Okay.
TikTok can be super impactful, but TikTok it's a bit more complex to use. Like, it's not, and the tools are really good, but if you're newer to social media or like taking it seriously for the first time, I think TikTok's you're going to get more frustrated with that more easily than the other two. And then YouTube is, complex because it's longer videos. Facebook is kind of, you already have so many personal friends that it's kind of hard to shift gears on that. I think Instagram or LinkedIn are the two places that are easiest to like start a rebrand on yourself.
I mean, 100%. How does it work? Okay, so if you're like, I'm going to push out this content, I'm going to talk about all these things I'm learning about, do you yourself or recommend for other people? I mean, I feel like I read so many blogs where everyone's like, content calendar, keep a content calendar. I've tried. Listen, I've downloaded the productivity apps. I bought the cute stationery at Papyrus. I can't. It's like a mental block. I cannot use a content calendar. You are going to laugh, Cassie. I literally have Post-it notes stuck up next to my desk. I'll put it in my Instagram story. It's kind of hilarious. And it'll say like, post 2 times on LinkedIn this week. And it'll be like, post about this and post about why. But I mean, what would you say to someone like me who just cannot wrap their head around creating a content calendar, or like how to stay productive when it comes to social media?
Yeah. I personally am not a huge fan of a content calendar. A lot of my clients, Yeah, a lot of my clients love them, and if they want them, we'll help make them for them like that. And there's a lot of people on my staff that love making them. I personally kind of like something that's a bit more loose. That's kind of like what you're saying. It's about making sure that you acknowledge social media on an ongoing basis and that you hit certain amount of content per week, and to not get too stressed about it. If like, let's say you say I need to post something on, LinkedIn on Friday and you don't get to it, it's fine. Just bump it to the next day. I use Google Keep as kind of my current, it's kind of post-it note-y, but it's like check,
Okay.
I have a lot of different lists on there. I create one for every day of the week. And then I have like a list that's like when you have time list. And I restructure the list all the time. If I don't finish everything on my Wednesday list today, that's cool. I just move it over to Thursday and I make sure I get what has to get done today done that day. I think you have to have some sort of organization though, whether it's something more simple like that. And we're actually the checkpoint for a lot of our clients. We're like, hey, you haven't posted anything in 2 days. You need to post something.
Like, hello,
today. You need to post something on stories.
We're
like, okay, you're right. But that, a lot of people like us for that. Is like, we're there in the morning. We're like, hey, you got to post. and they're like,
an accountability partner is huge.
Yes, I would say that's a big part of what we do actually, is being somebody's accountability partners.
Okay, so what do you do if they don't listen, which is kind of Michael's question that he just had. So what happens if you have a client that you're like, hello, accountability, you have to post, or I want you to post this would be so impactful, but then like they don't. Or they're like, no, I want to post this. And you're like, don't post that, post this other thing.
I have a rule that for myself, because I used to get really stressed about that. And then I would be like, it would like ruin my day when somebody would like make a move that I thought was the wrong thing to post, even though they did it kind of against my advice, and then it would go south, and it would just stress me out. But something that I do is I basically like say what I think they should do, and then if they don't do it, I let it go. Like it's like as long as you said what is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Or gave the best advice you can, and they choose not to take it. That's I can't control everybody. That's on them at that point. So
yeah, you can't control humans. I've tried. Very difficult.
You can't, and it's okay. But you can do your best. You can give them the best advice. You can give them data afterwards as to why it was a bad decision. But
here's why I was right and why you should have listened to me in the first place.
But you have to present it as data and not with emotions. So that's important.
What do you think? Okay, so when you're presenting these like data findings that happen to show mistakes, how do you what's the biggest mistake that you kind of see over and over again that you're like, I keep seeing people do this on social media, and it could be any platform. Maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Instagram, whatever, but like, what do you see that people keep doing that you're just like, face palm emoji?
Let's see. There's a lot.
Like, how much time do you have? I have a lot of FaceTime palm emojis.
I would say that there's, I think the biggest mistake I see is actually people not posting enough because they overthink it, and it's sometimes better to just do it and not to perform well than to not do it at all.
Just to like get out there.
You can always archive it on Instagram. You can always delete it later, but I think people like overthink the post to death, and then it becomes irrelevant, or they just end up not posting it at all because they found so many things wrong with it. And it's important to think some about what you post because you can make a lot of big mistakes, and that's more like on the higher celebrity level. Like they should definitely, whenever a celebrity is posting something that could be, even the slightly most controversial or I mean, honestly, I would really just recommend anything
Well, Jeff just called it. Do you stay away from politics?
I mean,
that's controversial sometimes.
Yeah. But I think those kind of situations always have somebody else besides just you reading it. I think that's, you save a lot, or sometimes somebody notices something in the background that shouldn't be there, or, hey, this could actually be, offensive, even though I know that's not what you meant. I think just having somebody, whether it doesn't have to be even me, but like a friend, just having a second set of eyes on something can be really helpful and solve a lot of problems. And it's kind of like double checking your work, but not spending too much time contemplating about if you should do this post or not.
Well, and I feel like having a friend check it is great. I mean, we've heard horror stories just on our side of clients accidentally posting street addresses behind them so that people know where they live. You get some crazies. So yeah, even just, and I would say that just for regular humans, like no one should be knowing where you live. You know, like you might want to like text it to a friend, check the background, like
no license plates. That's a big issue I see a lot.
License plates. Yep.
And don't put other people's license plates in the pictures either. That's not nice.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I feel like posting, sometimes that's the biggest mistake is just not posting enough, which is funny because I wanted to ask this question to everybody on today's meeting, which is, how would you describe yourself on socials? Are you more of like the party attendee? You're more of like a lurker? Like, I love my, fam, but sometimes my fam are more of like lurkers. I see you, Mom. And not like posters. So like, are you more of like you're the host, like you're posting a lot on socials, or are you more of like attendee? So I'm curious, like Kelly and Jen and Jeff and some people in today's meeting, like what would you consider yourself in terms of like, I'm trying to be more of a host. I'm trying to post more, which is funny because Cassie and I have been talking about this. Like we tell people to post more and then we don't.
It's more. So hard to do it for yourself, but I'm like, if I now or never.
Oh, I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard. And sometimes having that accountability partner or somebody just being like, hey, like knock, knock, like show yourself. It could be such a game changer when it comes to social media, but like it can be scary because no one wants to be out there, feeling uncomfortable when it comes to social media,
Yeah,
it's
I hear that. And I'm trying to do the host thing too. It's, and it's challenging. It's like a mental workout to like, be like, okay, I have to prioritize taking a picture today, or I have to make sure I spend 10 minutes talking to people in DMs, because it's something I like to tell people is that social media is not just what you post. It's how you use it to talk to other people, comment, respond to DMs. I think that's just as important as what you're posting. You have to have all of it, but that's, so it's dedicating time to make sure that you're like looking at what other people are doing, liking, commenting, learning from it, sharing. That's important too. And sometimes that's a good place to start if you don't feel as comfortable sharing yourself yet. A good place to start is to spend 15 minutes a day, commenting on people, starting conversations with people versus waiting to be spoken to first, just kind of exercising your social media muscles that way.
Oh, 100%. And I love that Eric just said, I have to overcome my introverted ways, because you and I have talked about this, where I have to give a huge shout out to you because I feel like I've been bugging you, like, post more. And then you're like, no. And then finally you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And you've been like, awesome, like fire content, so helpful. Once again, every platform I follow you on, I learned something. I learned something about you. I learned like an app I should download, or, I mean, what was your like spark? Like you were just finally like, I'm doing this.
I think I ran out of, like, during COVID, I've run out, like I've gotten through a lot of things that I have wanted to start doing that I haven't done yet. And I finally like got to the last thing on my to-do list that I was avoiding, which was doing that for myself. I feel like I ran out of other things ahead of it on the to-do list, and I kept adding stuff in front of it to not do it because it's stressful. And, I think a lot of times people prioritize other projects or other people over themselves. And it's really hard to prioritize yourself when it makes you feel like you're not doing a good job sometimes for other people, or that you're not spending enough time on your clients or your family or whoever that is. But that really isn't true. And self-care is so important. And I think maintaining your own social media is kind of a form of self-care in a way. And it is really good for business. I actually feel a lot more connected to a lot of my clients. I've gotten new clients because I've been posting more often.
Mhm.
It's been good for business, and I haven't been doing it for that long. So I can imagine that if you continually do it and do it more, that it's amazing for work. And for meeting new people too. I've met a lot of new people because of it, or reconnected with people, or talked to other people more. So it's been awesome to do it more. It's not just about getting likes. It's about just meeting new people and feeling more connected and feeling better about yourself.
Well, and I also feel like when it comes to work, I feel like Lee just asked such a good question. It's not really then that you're promoting yourself. It's always going to be more impactful coming from you. I always say that to people. I'm like, if I'm talking to Richard Branson, okay, CEO of Virgin, that's going to be more impactful than hearing from Richard Branson's assistant. Like, it's fine, but what's really going to pack the punch is if Richard Branson DMs me, or like Richard Branson. So I also feel like social media is important in terms of work. I know that that's why at the Superfan company, we've 100% gotten clients that way, because like I'm out there and people are like, oh, it's her. You know, it's not like an assistant emailing me. It's like, oh, this is like a human. And there she is. And now she's like messaging me on LinkedIn or sliding into my DMs or whatever. I think it makes a huge difference.
I agree. It really does. And I just think it's going to continue to grow in that direction. I don't think that impact is going to go away at any point.
Mm-hmm. I feel like also it's important that people kind of, you hit the nail on the head, that you just have to run out of excuses.
Yeah.
You can kind of always have it like, oh, then I have to wash my hair. Then I have to do this other thing. And so, you know, for a client that's like maybe running out of excuses, or just like really shy, like Cassie, I'm so shy. Like, what would your message be? And maybe someone, you know, with us today is sort of thinking self-talk in their own head, like, oh, Cassie can do it and Kim does it, but like, I'm too shy. Like, I can't do what they do. What would you say to them?
I would say that, like, I am very heavily an introvert. Just in terms of like my whole life, like speaking, putting myself out there, like when I go to a party, I do not, like a real life party, I do not feel at home. But I think any of those sort of, everyone has weaknesses, but that doesn't mean that they're debilitating and you can't work through them. And I actually, like, I had, you know, kind of off topic, but I had this great person apply to work at my company. We almost didn't hire him based upon like the weaknesses of his personality test.
Yep.
But I'm glad we did, because his weaknesses are his weaknesses, but I would have never be able to tell. So I think that anything that is hindering you or is harder is something that you can work through. And it's some things are easier or harder for other people, but I think that if you really want something, you can figure out how to work on it. And it's not, you can't go straight to the top. You have to take it in baby steps. Like, I think telling somebody right now, like, you know, go follow Gary Vee and post like him, like that would be so hard to get to, because he posts so much. And it's great content. I love it. I learned so much from it. But
also, disclaimer, we should say, and Cassie knows this better than anyone, guys, Gary Vee has a whole team. Like, don't compare yourself. I hate when people are like, it's like he has 30 people working for him. Like,
and it's great for him, but but you can't do that by yourself.
No.
It would be debilitating to think that you could like make your own platform be like his.
No.
Don't
put yourself in that comparison set.
Yeah, like, it's really hard. And I think so you have to like kind of be like, okay, how do I post like one piece of content like his once a week, or whoever you look up to? But it's taking it in baby steps, or maybe instead of posting a picture of yourself, post a quote. But it's you build there. You don't get there overnight. He didn't get there overnight. He's been posting on social media and doing stuff forever.
Years.
Like a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's doesn't happen overnight. You can't just become like him in a month. Like that doesn't work like that. Well, it's baby steps.
And not only him in a month, him alone.
Yeah.
Like, one human cannot pump out that much content. So when I hear entrepreneurs like, oh yeah, like I'm like, oh no. Like, no. Like we need to take it down, like down a couple notches. Cause unless you have a 30-person team and you're like Santa Claus with elves behind you, like you're not gonna be able to do that.
No.
You're just not.
No, it's too much. So I think a lot of people probably don't know that he has that many people. So I think just sharing that like he has a team with a lot of them, more than any other celebrity I know working on him. I just think that's good to like kind of make people understand what's realistic for themselves.
100%, 100%. And I want to make sure that we have time to like copy all of your homework so that for the next week, we look really impressive and cool on all of our Zoom calls. So I want to jump into like a coffee speed round.
Okay.
Like, well, we don't drink coffee. We're like caffeinated tea speed round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the best app or program that you've started using recently that you're like obsessed with?
I mean, let's see. Not for social media, I love Citizen so that I don't get into walk into like a police issue on my walk.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's an app that shows like different like police calls, 911, police activity near you. I don't know if it's in every city yet, but it's in LA, and I get like, I've been outside a lot more recently, walking, and I've actually been like, okay, I'm not going to walk that way because there's a person with holding a knife over there apparently. So I
first.
Yeah. So I like that, but I'm also excited for Facetune just launched a new app where I forget the name of it. I was researching it this morning because Kindle actually posted about it, and I'm very excited about it. But it's a Facetune for video.
Ooh, so like a video editing system.
Yes, but like for cleaning, like retouching yourself. So I'm very excited about this.
Ooh, I like the sound of this.
Yeah. Ooh, so I need to remember the name of it because I actually wrote it down on my list of things to do is to like dig into everything this is and then talk to my staff about it.
You're like, I'm writing this down. Other people go chase this.
Yeah. But if I don't write it down, I won't remember to research it. So that's why I did that.
I write everything down in Evernote. My mind is like a sieve. It just flows right through unless I write it down. It's terrible.
I feel that.
Okay, what is the best gift you've given yourself or done for yourself in the last year?
I think getting like multiple forms of coaching and therapy, if I'm being honest.
Self-care.
Yeah, self-care. But I have like me and my business partner have like a business coach therapist type. I don't know what it is that we call every Friday and talk to. And then I finally found like a good personal therapist, which is amazing and makes a difference. And it actually helps with a lot of the blocks that I've had about posting on social media myself. And then I'm using this company called Bleecker, which is they're called thinking partners, but they work with different executives and do executive
I love those guys. Jay and them are great.
Yeah. So I didn't, so I'm working with them now and I'm excited about that. And I like to just share that I do all that stuff because I think a lot of people don't. And I think I remember I told my boyfriend, I'm like, I'm going to do this Bleecker thing. And he was like, well, like, people like Richard Branson and stuff don't have people like that. And I'm like, everyone at that level has like multiple people like that. They all have like 100%. Advisors, coaches.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, do you think Tom Brady would be where he is without nutritionists, trainers, like people? He's like a whole team to help him be the best person ever. So you also need a whole team.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I think that's another thing. Like Gary Vee has social media people and executives have people like this that help them with all different types of things.
100%. Okay. What is a favorite podcast, newsletter, resource, human that you are kind of constantly learning from that you're like, ooh, I love this?
Yeah. I've finally got into podcasts in the past year and I like having a variety. Like I love listening to like Barbara Corcoran's like Business Unusual. I like that she has long and short little bits too. So if I'm on a long walk or if I'm doing something a short walk in between meetings. I like just putting stuff like that, like her on and listening to that. And she has really good, like short tips and tricks. And I've really actually liked Ashley Graham's podcast just because it's sort of more in-depth interviews with people that I think wouldn't have the perspectives or thoughts that they do. She asks questions that they usually don't get asked. So I've really enjoyed that as well.
Well, I'll have to listen to it. Do you have a favorite episode that I should like start with that you're like, oh, I heard this recently?
I actually really liked I think it's the first episode. I actually really liked the Kim Kardashian episode.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Homework, I will listen to it. Well, that kind of leads me into my next question because I was going to say, what is one thing that everyone should try this week? That's going to be mine. But like, what do you think everyone should try this week?
Everyone should try this week.
Could be like a food or a book or a TV show or a breathing exercise or.
I mean, I really have enjoyed the Zac Efron Down to Earth on Netflix. I thought it was amazing. And I learned a lot about like food and sustainability that I didn't think one that I didn't know, but didn't think that I would care about as much as I did. I feel like it's good for somebody like me who doesn't know as much about those topics as maybe some other people do. It was great. I learned it was really interesting to watch, and it kind of made me feel like I was traveling when I can't travel right now. So I like
COVID travel from my couch.
I like being like, okay, I visited Iceland today with Zac Efron. It was great.
I mean, I would like to go anywhere with Zac Efron. Just throwing that out there.
It was awesome. I really enjoyed it and feel like I felt very educated and entertained at the same time.
That's been on my to-do list to see some of those episodes because they look amazing.
They're great.
They look so good. What kind of posts do you get most excited to see on social media? Is it like a personal post of somebody with their kids, or is it like, I sort of love seeing like the loss, sadness, bad day ones.
Yeah.
Personally, but like, what's your favorite?
I like when somebody posts something that's a little surprising, but still makes sense to their brand. So something that's kind of like, oh, I didn't expect that from them, but it makes sense. I like those.
Like a reveal almost?
A reveal, or just like, oh, I didn't know that person was into boating, but I guess that makes sense. That's cool. Like learning something new about somebody that feels not so predictable is the kind of stuff I really like.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I also feel like it's just, those are so fun. I feel like I see those more on Instagram, which is where, by the way, everyone should be following you, because you've been, not to like get people off of LinkedIn, but they really should be following you on Instagram because you post so many of these little reveals and tidbits about things that in your life or people that you're working with. So that's my shameless plug for your Instagram.
Thank you.
I know, I love it. Well, I feel like I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I also want to like reveal next week's guest, which is Jason Pfeiffer. Do you know Jason? I can't remember.
I know of, but don't know.
Okay. He's amazing. He's a podcast host. He's also the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. We're going to be talking about all things storytelling. I love that Jason is like a dad and he has 2 podcasts. Oh, and he's also a writer. Oh, and he's also a magazine editor. So it's a lot going to be going on there. But I will drop a link in the comments to a calendar link. So, but more importantly, if people want to stay in touch with you, Cassie, what is like your recommended stay in touch with Cassie directions?
I like Instagram. I love Instagram DMs. I look at them and talk to people all the time on them. I really enjoy it. And I like keeping up with, what other people are posting on their feeds there too. I just feel it's like the fastest way for me to get informed no matter where I'm at in the world. And I like that. And
I love your Instagram stories too. I forgot about that, but I like your stories too.
Oh, thanks.
You take us with you on the beach. And since I'm not near the beach, I like to go to the beach with you virtually.
Yes. I like posting my little, just, a little bit, but I love going to the beach as much as I can, because why not, since I live close to it.
I know. So if you like going to the beach, you and I can go to the beach with Cassie via her Instagram stories. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today and bringing all your good wisdom and advice and your comments and your questions. And Cassie will answer more, I'm sure, via Instagram for the rest of today and in the future. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining Cassie and I, and send a big cheers
Yes.
From Cassie and I to you. Happy Wednesday, everybody. And I can't wait to see you all next week.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you for having me, Kim.
Bye, guys.